Welcome to Bishop Middleham Quarry, the lair of the Dark Red Helleborine. We're back again. Welcome back to Bishop Middleham Quarry. Nearly called it Midland Quarry. We were here last year chasing Dark Red Helleborine, and we'll be chasing Dark Red Helleborine again today. And there should be peak season as opposed to early season last year. But I felt last time I came here that there was a lot that I didn't see because I was just sort of glossing over it looking for Dark Red Helleborine. So I've always wanted to come back and give it a more thorough going over. I mean, we're late, it's sort of 2 weeks into July now, so I'd rather have come 2 weeks ago, but work commitments didn't permit. So it could be interesting. There could be some stuff here that was not here last year, and of course vice versa. But going to give it a thorough going over and see what we can find. I see some Dark Red Helleborine already, quite near the entrance. I think they're quite freshly open. They're still in bud at the bottom, not fully open yet. I think we'll find some better ones as we go along. But there's a bishop, or pair of Bishop Midleham Dark Red Helleborine. Nice little common spotted. I read on the internet from a recent visitor that most of the common spotteds had gone over here, so this one certainly hasn't, so hopefully there'll be a few more similar still in their prime, as they should be really in July. It's a nice common spotted, halfway up a bank, but worth clambering up for. There were some nice common spotteds here last year, so hopefully there'll be a few more. That's a very nice, well, what is it? It's almost certainly a hybrid Northern Marsh orchid, common spotted orchid. But the leaves are clear, but that's not a Northern Marsh. I don't think. It's a hybrid. Definitely a hybrid. Now, this one, it's amazing that on the entire tour, I didn't really see anything particularly spectacular, but this probably qualifies as spectacular. And I saw it about 1 minute after arriving at my first site here at Bishop Midleham. Called this one, as you've seen already, Northern Marsh cross common spotted, of which there were many here last year, but it isn't. Clues were really that there were no others like this on the site, and there should be, so it was a bit suspicious. Clue also that the point of growth, or the stage of growth that this was at, was pretty much in sync with the fragrant orchids around it. I didn't pick up on that, but looking back on it, that should have been a clue as well. But the biggest clue as to what it might be came when I saw the video back at base, and that's the long, thin spurs behind the flower heads, which I'll put a ring around again over to the left so you can see what I'm referring to. You know, those long spurs, they're fragrant orchid, full stop, and that makes this a fragrant orchid hybrid with common spotted orchid. I wondered if there was something else going on, but I've asked the experts, those that know significantly more than me, and they're happy to say that's a Marsh fragrant orchid crossed with a common spotted orchid. I didn't even know such things existed. I've certainly never seen one before, and I'm quite chuffed really that I've now actually got one in the bag. If I'd have known on the day, I'd have given it a clonker tag. So here's one, because it deserves it. It's a great little orchid, let down by me because I didn't work out what it was on the day. I don't think I would have had much chance, but those spurs screamed out at me when I saw it back at base that this was something different, and social media's put me right as a Marsh fragrant common spotted hybrid. Very nice orchid too. Dark Red Helleborine, precariously sitting on the bank, but at least we can get under it to see the flowers. Hopefully you can just about make these out. They're sort of dark, dusky, purpley red. There must be 30-40 Dark Red Helleborine right in front of me here. I think we struggled to find 3 or 4 in total last year, and there'll be some bigger sites than this within Bishop Midland for sure. But yeah, great to see. Very, very rare. They don't appear in too many places, and this is number one. This is the number one spiritual home of the Dark Red Helleborine. That looks interesting. That's certainly not common spotted. It's a fragrant orchid. I think it's chalk fragrant orchid. Got into trouble last year on other sites calling them chalk fragrant when they were actually Marsh fragrant, which I'm sure we'll see in the next couple of days. That's a chalk fragrant. I'm going to stick with that one. I didn't actually know they grew here, so it's good to see. Any chance of a hybrid, I wonder? You know when I pop up on your screen back at base that something has gone wrong in my descriptions, and this one sort of applies not just to this video but probably the next 2 videos, as you'll see when they come out. Marsh fragrant orchids, chalk fragrant orchids, mixing them up. I did it last year, I've done it again on this tour. The images on the left, far left, is a Marsh fragrant orchid, pink, densely flowered. The one next to it is actually from Barton Hills, where there are no Marsh fragrant orchids, and that's a chalk fragrant orchid. It's a sort of, I don't know, dusky violet colour with pretty sparse flowers on there, and the differences are pretty obvious, and it's totally inexcusable for me to get the two confused, but that's exactly what I did. The only excuse I can think of is I didn't think Marsh fragrant orchids existed at most of these sites, but they do, and if I'd have looked that up I'd have known. But anyway, in a nutshell, I've called just about every fragrant orchid, in fact every single fragrant orchid in the first, I think, 3 videos, chalk fragrant, and most of them were Marsh fragrant. And the different, I mean, there are differences between them that I could go into, but they're quite tricky, some of them, especially out in the field, you know, relating to the lip or flower shape, and also to the lateral sepals. That's the bits, the sort of the sideways part of the flower. I put a little red ring around them on there. On the chalk fragrant, they're rolled up like cigarette papers, and on a Marsh Fragrant orchid they're flat. It's a bit subtle, and I'm not sure you really would pick them up out in the field, but that's one difference. The difference I would point at here, and the bit that I should have picked up, is the density of the flowering. The Latin name for Marsh Fragrant orchid, or part of the Latin name for Marsh Fragrant orchid, is densiflora, dense flowers, and that's the difference basically. By the time I worked it out later on the tour, it was a simple case of, if I could see through the orchid, it was chalk fragrant. If I couldn't see through it because it was a wall of flowers, it was a Marsh Fragrant, and that's pretty straightforward really. I could pick on the colouring as well, but you can get variants within the chalk fragrant range, and they can be the same sort of pinky colour. So in a nutshell, if it's densely flowered, Marsh Fragrant; if it's sparsely flowered, it's chalk fragrance. And I get this wrong quite a lot, so rather than pop up and annoy you after every error I make of this nature, I'll leave you to pick out where I've got it right and where I've got it wrong. I've probably got it wrong more than I've got it right, but I'll leave that one to you to pick them out. It's pretty obvious, so I apologise for that, but at least now you know, and more important, now I know. It was at the top of this steps and hill where I found the Dark Red Helleborines last year, so there should be a good showing this year. I think someone said this was the hot spot. They're all dotted around. Don't think there's any more up here than there was down the bottom there, but there's certainly several hundred of them, fairly well spread across the site. I've not seen a really big one yet. There'll be one somewhere. It's a spectacular sight, that's for sure. Just got to remember the places I didn't look in last year. Yep, it's a long way down. The odd pyramidal. Only been a couple so far, just to add to the collection. Another cute little chalk fragrant orchid. Trying to collect the full set here that exists at this time of the season at Bishop Middleham. There's a common Twayblade. I think the chalk fragrant orchids are the best in show here today. I think they're close to the middle of their season, I guess, and that gives them an advantage over the others that are hanging on. A slightly bigger common spotted than most I've seen so far, and it's only about, the flower head's only about 4 or 5 inches. That one's still in its prime. very spotty, as in all spots and no lines. Common spotted orchid. Good to find something different. Pretty knackered common spotted orchid, but it was a white one, is a white one. Was a white one, probably better than it is now, but it's definitely a white common spotted. It's a nice common spotted, particularly the flowers at the top. There are a few of this particular colouring with this sort of flush of purple mauve in the background. It fades as they get older, but that's still a remnant just hanging on. It's a nice common spotted, very dense. Nice little pink pyramidal orchid. It's great how these dark red helleborines cling to the steepest of banks. You don't need to clamber up to see them. They just look more at home on a rock face. Very pretty. Oh, taking a breather. It's a warm day. It's not clear sun, thank heavens, but it's very warm, very humid. About halfway around, I've done the upper levels of Bishop Middleham now, and they're going to drop down to the lower levels. Things have gone over basically. Yeah, there's probably 50–60% are browned off, so I kind of half expected it. Good to see the dark red helleborines, and you never know, we might find something more down the bottom. I wouldn't drive all the way to Bishop Middleham Quarry just to visit Bishop Middleham Quarry, great site though it is. I'm doing another manic, frantic 3-day tour. I'm going to visit 3 of the sites I did last year because they were the big ones, and I don't think I did them justice. That's this one. And then tomorrow up to Hawthorne Dean, and then down to Teesmouth where the northern Marsh orchids were, and I hope, fingers crossed, there's still some there. I don't want them to have all gone over. But there's going to be about another 4, 5, 6 smaller sites that I've never been to. Don't know anything about them. They were in an old orchid book, so I may not even find them, but there will be some variation. I'm going to do a video for each of the sites rather than do some gigantic opus epic that runs on for 2 hours or so. So each one will be a small video in its own right. So yeah, Bishop Middleham Quarry, and I suppose I better get up and crack on, and I don't think I'll go over the edge. I'll find a long way round, a safe way round to get down to the bottom, and you never know, there might be a little bit more down there than there has been up here, hopefully. As you can see, there's no shortage of orchids here, but they're mostly at least starting to go over, and they're all pretty diminutive. I don't know whether the season's been a bit dry. It's rare to find common spotted here that's more than about 3 or 4 inches tall in terms of the flower head. Last year there were some 12–15 inch monsters, and there's no sign of them ever having been here this season. There's no browned off plants of any great stature, but there you go, still time. Diminutive or not, there's the odd very colourful common spotted orchid like this one. Another steep bank covered in dark red helleborine. I will not be climbing that one. Nope. I think these are probably the biggest helleborines I've seen here. As I said earlier, most of them have been quite small, but these are getting a bit more like they should be, and with a bit more growing room to come. Two lovely little dark red helleborines in their own little corner. Still a good collection of short fragrant orchids around this site. Nice collection of short fragrants again. No sign of a hybrid. Not going to be that lucky, I don't think. I keep thinking there's not that many dark red helleborine here, but every time I turn a corner and just stop and look, they're actually cropping up everywhere. That bank across the way I said I wouldn't climb, there must be 100 on there. I did go and have a closer look, and they're all over the place. And look at these, all these thin dark stems on this bank are dark red helleborine. And there's some quite big ones. In fact, there's a real big one over there. Definitely going to have a closer look at that one. That is a real monster. And I know it's only a dark red helleborine, and we knew they'd be here. I'm going to give that a clonker tag, I think. A real clonker. That's what I wanted to see. A really big specimen, dark red helleborine. A true clonker. Very nice. Short fragrant, growing up against the dark red helleborine. Desperate attempt at hybridisation there, if only. That's nice. That is a short fragrant orchid. Colour, very pale pink, I would say. Nice to see. There you go. Very nice white short fragrant orchid. Thought there'd be one somewhere. Sitting all on its own, very nice. That is very, very nice. That's the best common spotted I've seen here by a million miles. Saw a couple last year like this, with this lovely blend of colouring. Yeah, very good. That's a tiny little 1 inch tall common spotted, but I love these spots only type, well, there are lines on it, but it's mostly spots. Common spotted orchids, very cute. Standard short fragrant and a beautiful pink variation behind it. That's very nice. Another of those lovely common spotted, slightly paler than the previous ones, but still a beautiful colour scheme. Really, really nice. And another one. There you go, Bishop Middleham Quarry. I've given it a good 3 hours, given it a good search. I'm sure there's one or two special orchids here that I've missed, but I've done as much as I can in this heat. And yeah, fantastic dark red helleborine collection here. I think it's more than half of the national collection is in this site, and yeah, they're about at their peak. A few clonkers in there, but pretty much at their peak. Fantastic to see. Common spotties have gone over. Short fragrance, there's quite a lot of those. Couldn't find any hybrids, but I was being a bit greedy to even expect to find a hybrid there. So yeah, incredible site, really is. Could have done with coming a few weeks earlier, but I knew that anyway. But to see the dark red helleborine in their prime just made it worthwhile. So yeah, that's it. I'm going back now, back to the hotel for a cold shower.